Now at 4:30, final preparations are underway before opening statements tomorrow in the Delphi murders trial.
That trial in the national spotlight and taking place more than 7.5 years after teenagers Abby Williams and Libby were found dead near their small Carroll County town.
The man accused, 52-year-old Richard Allen, who will face the jury tomorrow morning at the Carroll County Courthouse. And joining us now to help break all of this down is our 13 News legal expert attorney Katie Jackson-Lindsay. And we will need to know how important these opening statements are going to be.
Sure. So in any criminal case, opening statements are sort of a preview. For the state, it's going to be a preview of the evidence that they expect to present to meet their burden. For the defense, it's going to be a preview of how they plan to defend against that evidence. And so it's sort of a roadmap for the jury where they're honing in at that point on what they should be looking for. Now, in this case in particular, for the general public, those opening statements are going to be a big deal because it will be our first opportunity to really learn what happened here and how we got to this point.
In a hearing this morning, the prosecution argued it does not want the jury to see those sketches, those composite sketches that were widely circulated. Why might that be, and why would the defense want them included?
Sure. So the state's legal objection to those sketches coming in is that they're not relevant. More specifically, that they're not relevant in that they were not used to identify Richard Allen, because they are in fact not sketches that resemble Richard Allen. And so that issue of relevance to his identity is exactly why the defense wants them in. They are not Richard Allen. And so for the defense, that opens an opportunity to say, some witness that you thought was significant enough to broadcast across the news for 5 years found those sketches to resemble the person who did this, and is simply not their client.
And two seemingly vastly different sketches.
Exactly.
Different looking sketches.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The two sketches do not even depict the same person. So arguably that puts 3 people in play, 2 of which are not Richard Allen.
Okay. Also discussed was the potential testimony of guards and fellow inmates from Allen's time behind bars. So the defense is arguing that those guards are not psychology experts. So why would the prosecution want to hear from them?
So ordinarily in a criminal case, the jury would never be allowed to even know a defendant was in custody pre-trial. And so in this case, the reason that comes into play is because we now know that there are statements that Mr. Allen made while in custody that were incriminating, that went to his guilt, that were arguably confessions. And so his defense team has already asserted that their position is that those statements were made under duress, under very coercive conditions where his mental state was affected. And so the only relevance we would have to assume of those that staff would be to talk about those conditions. And the defense's position is that they are not equipped to do that. They're not qualified to talk about how those conditions would have affected Mr. Allen's mental state.
All right. Well, I expect we'll hear the judge's ruling on those motions certainly before opening statements tomorrow. Yes. Katie Jackson-Lindsay, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
We will have team coverage of the trial beginning tomorrow, so we want you to stay with us on air and online. You can head to WTHR.com to get some more info. Let's head over to Angela.